Ah, tell me again, where was Gatsby when he died? Like, what was he doing at the moment of his death?
Wasn't he in his pool?
He's in his pool.
Yeah. Remember earlier the gardener had come out and said, "Oh, I'm gonna drain the pool and clean out the pool like it's the end of the season." And Gatsby's like, "I haven't even used the pool yet. Keep it open one more day." Um, and not only that though, so yeah, so he's like floating around in the pool, but he's also waiting for the phone to ring. He's expecting a phone call from Daisy, isn't he, on that day? It's the day after the car accident, the day after Myrtle died. So he's thinking, of course she's going to call. Of course she's going to check in with me. Um, so it's so sad, that at the moment of his death, he's just waiting for this woman to call, and she never does. And frankly, she's not like she was never going to. She wasn't going to call him at that point. Um, so it's really just shocking. Yeah, yeah. And then that funeral where, was it Lily? Did you say you weren't surprised, even though it was sad?
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of just like the whole like end of the book pointed out a lot of flaws about like humans in general. Like
Mhm.
it really showed that like people are just self-interested and like they only came to Gatsby's parties because like it was fun for them, not because like they cared about the host.
Right.
And two, like Daisy chose Tom over Gatsby because she picked someone who had a lot of money
Mm.
rather than someone who actually cared about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also found it interesting how Nick took it upon himself to take care of Gatsby's situation
Mhm.
because no one else would.
Yeah.
And I feel like even though Gatsby was dead, they became closer
Oh,
from that one
yes.
incident.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're right. In fact, there was a great quote. Okay, let's go to our books, girls. Go to chapter 8. This is when he's still alive. And oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know where this is. In my book, it's on page 162. So yours are usually a few pages before that. There's a paragraph that begins, "They're a rotten crowd." It's a quote. So maybe,
It's on page 154 in my book. I don't know if that will help anyone else.
okay, 154 in some of them. But this is that part, again, it's the morning after, okay? So Myrtle has been killed the night before, and Nick goes over to Gatsby's house. And so they're just kind of hanging out in the morning and they're talking, and Nick really needs to go to work. Like he needs to go back into the city and get to work, but he keeps delaying his departure because he just can't bring himself to leave Gatsby behind. And he keeps missing one train after another. And then finally he's like, I gotta go. Like I really need to get into the office. So he starts to walk away from Gatsby, and at the very last minute, he turns around and he shouts this back to Gatsby: "They're a rotten crowd. You're worth the whole damn bunch put together." And he says, "I've always been glad I said that. It was the only compliment I ever gave him because I disapproved of him from beginning to end." And then if you go down to the end of that paragraph, he wrote, "The lawn and drive had been crowded with the faces of those who guessed at his corruption. And he had stood on those steps, concealing his incorruptible dream as he waved them goodbye." And I love the juxtaposition of corruption and incorruptible. It's really beautiful. And because it's kind of true, I think Gatsby was corrupt. I think that, I think anybody who makes that much money that quickly is, I mean, there's cause for suspicion there, especially in the 1920s. This is prohibition. Um, I think he was involved with some really shady people, and I think he probably did a lot of illegal activity to get that money. But to him, it wasn't bad because the end result was Daisy, right? So it's like he sort of justified it to himself. Well, it doesn't matter how I make this money because I need to get her, because his dream was incorruptible. He was corrupt, but his dream was incorruptible. His dream of Daisy, his dream of getting her